The lunar eclipse in Taurus shows changes to our love and our money. In this video, we're going over the lunar eclipse in Taurus happening November 8th, 2022. We'll go over the energy, the aspects, and a breakdown for each sign of the zodiac. Astrology consultations are 50% off right now through October 21st. Click the link below to book yours. The lunar eclipse in Taurus happens Tuesday on the 8th of November. This happens at 16 degrees of Taurus, and it'll be happening at 3:01 a.m. Pacific time. Before we get into the energies of the eclipse, we want to talk about what eclipse season means. What you need to know about eclipse season. Eclipses come in pairs, so they don't just affect one side of your chart, they affect the house that is on the opposite side of your chart as well. The events that the eclipse is a precursor to will manifest at some point in the next 6 months following the eclipse, and it will happen in a different area of life for you based on whatever rising sign you have. Who's most affected by the lunar eclipse in Taurus? First, we have the fixed signs. If you have your sun, moon, or rising in the fixed signs of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius. It'll affect you more strongly if you have personal planets between 10 to 21 degrees of the fixed signs. So that's going to be Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, or Leo. You might also feel the impact if you have personal planets between 10 or 21 degrees of the other earth signs of Virgo or Capricorn. That will be the trine, those trine the eclipse. So it's usually not as strong because the trine is an aspect that represents ease. And finally, if you have an angle, that's your midheaven, your ascendant, your descendant, or your IC between 10 and 21 degrees of Scorpio. Another way to tell how this eclipse will affect you personally is to think back to what was happening in your life around October of 2004. That's when we had the last lunar eclipse in Taurus. This was the last eclipse of this kind in this sign. It was a lunar eclipse with the North Node. And we're going to break down what that means right now. This eclipse is a lunar eclipse, meaning the sun and the moon are opposite. So it's like a very powerful full moon. Full moons are typically associated with releasing. So being a lunar eclipse means there might be something to let go of, release, or end in the house Taurus lands in your chart. This is also a North Node eclipse, which means the North Node is in the same sign as the eclipse. All eclipses happen near the North or South Node, not always in the same sign, but the definition of an eclipse is that it is in proximity to one of the nodes. We know every eclipse is going to be with the North or South Node. Eclipses with the South Node typically are associated more with endings, the North Node more with beginnings. So what this means, being a lunar eclipse with the North Node, is that there will be some things that are released in your Taurus house and some things that are started. And to me, this really feels like a release that really puts us more on course toward our life direction. The North Node representing, the lessons we're here to learn in this lifetime. So now for some of the aspects to the eclipse. We have Uranus conjunct the eclipse. Uranus is a planet of change and disruption. Having it be the exact degree of the eclipse is a very, very, very powerful change. It can be disruptive, it can be sudden, and it's unexpected. Even astrologers can't really tell what Uranus is going to do, even when we study it, because the definition of Uranus is something unexpected will happen. So having Uranus conjunct the eclipse means unexpected changes in our Taurus house, because Taurus represents the senses, enjoying the senses, money, land, financial security, how we receive pleasure, being able to enjoy life, listening to the music we love, all of those things, including our values. These are the things that we could see changes happening to. The things that we value in our physical world, how important or not important we consider our possessions. Same thing with love as well. We can have changes to our values in love, changes in love. This does not mean everyone's going to fall in love, but even for people who are not falling in love during this transit, there's a potential to have changes in love. So changes within relationships, changes to values, adjustments that need to be made, things like that. This eclipse also has a T-square between Uranus, which is with the moon, with Venus and Mercury, which are with the sun, and Saturn. So this is a very, very challenging eclipse because T-squares are lots and lots of tension. So the areas of life that we might have tension here are going to be things like, where do we need to apply more responsibility and do more Saturn type things? So that's, Saturn is all about restriction. Where do we need to cut down our diets? Where do we need to cut down our spending? Where do we need to, spend less time with significant others, or spend more time investing in the relationship, spend more time in our friendships? Where do we need to sacrifice? And these don't always have to be bad things, but with this being a T-square, this feels like changes that seem karmic or fated, changes that have this element of like, I have to step up to this now. These kind of situations where it's like now or never, where it really does represent, with Saturn squaring all these planets, a need to step up to some new responsibility. Now, there are times in life where that is a good thing. Like you have a baby and you step up to the responsibility of being a parent, or you step up to the responsibility of a job you've always wanted. So there can be things like that, where in order to have the things we have always wanted, we have to really be able to show ourselves or others that we kind of deserve what we're asking for. And I know some people in the spiritual community don't like that language, but the reality is, if you're prepared, if you come to an interview and you are not prepared to do the job and someone else is going to get the job. And I think the universe does that too sometimes, where, if we say we want something, but we haven't been getting ready to have it, this might be a time where we have some wake up calls that go, are you sure you really want that thing? Because if you do, you need to take care of this, this, and this. And so these disruptions that we might be seeing to our enjoyment, our pleasure, the senses, may have something to do with the goals we want to accomplish, because Saturn is involved. Because it's a T-square, changes need to be made. Changes, adjustments kind of have to happen with a square, and there's two squares and an opposition in a T-square. So it's not just, changes need to be made, but here's some external obstacles that we cannot go forward past. We do not get to pass go and collect $200 until we handle this stuff. The obstacle is not there for you to give up. Sometimes the obstacle is there for us to say, you know what? Yes, I do want this badly enough to overcome this obstacle. And it shows us who we are. It shows us what our values are. It shows us what we're made of when we're willing to overcome something in order to have what we've been asking for. Because Mercury and Venus are in an opposition to the eclipse and Uranus being on the other side, this can be some kind of shocking information that comes out about things that Venus rules. Again, love, money, our values, our spending, our the senses, the beauty products we use, our physical bodies, not necessarily like health-wise. For most of us, this will be just shocking information that either changes how we see our own values and we realize, oh my God, I do not even value this thing. This isn't what I think or what I feel anymore. Or shocking information, sudden events that are totally unexpected, sudden information revealed, that's illuminated by the sun here. Again, about Venus type stuff, values, love, money, finances, possessions. With Venus trining Neptune, there is something good happening here. And Venus, Neptune trines, these are really wonderful for like going on a really nice date, enjoying art. When aspects are like this, when we have a bunch of challenging aspects and then one nice one, this is kind of like a day where you get news that you need to have surgery. And then you also have a date that night and the date still goes really wonderfully, but you have this other stuff going on. So I feel like for us, the Venus Neptune trine in this eclipse is going to allow us, number one, watch out for escapism. It'll be really easy to not face or deal with whatever information comes and go want to play video games or drink or do whatever you do to check out. We all have something. So there is a challenge with that ease between Venus and Neptune. If, for example, that Saturn challenge for us is something we need to face and step up to, we need to watch out that we don't just kind of try to do the Pisces thing and swim away instead of standing firm, standing in our integrity and handling what we need to handle. This is a general reading, so just take what resonates on that and leave the rest. With Mars squaring Neptune in this eclipse, it can be a little bit more challenging to take action because Neptune dissolves. Mars is our action and our passion. So during this time, we could just feel less motivated. It doesn't mean you have to stop taking action, but sometimes Mars-Neptune squares can have us feeling like we're lost, even when we're totally on the right track. So watch out for that. And that the energy of that will probably be just like a week prior to and a week after the eclipse, but it can just make us feel lost even when we're on the right track, make us feel like we can't get clarity on the full vision of what we want to accomplish. Sometimes with Mars squaring Neptune, adjustments have to be made that require us to act with compassion. So sometimes it will be, dealing with people who are suffering that we need to help them. That's like the classic case of Mars square Neptune in transit. So, another way this can show up though, is we can just be feeling like we want to do all the things in the whole universe, because Neptune is that universal energy, and Mars in Gemini also wants to get a little bit of everything and a little bit of experience in every single thing and put their hand in every single little pie. And just like there's that natural curiosity that that Martian energy of action is funneled through. So we could have that too, where we want to do all the things. Usually we can't do all the things. We have to pick some things and not do the other things. So for some people, this might be part of this big existential crisis where they feel like, well, I wanted to do all the things. And with that T-Sqaure to Saturn, it's like realizing we can't do all the things. We have to get some clarity. And then when Mars retrogrades at the end of October, this will be a time where we kind of reassess. Have we been trying to do all the things? Have we been trying to do all the actions in the whole universe at once? And how can we be more precise? How can we be more efficient? How can we be more effective? It just might feel a little bit unclear as to what our direction is. So now let's move on to the breakdown for each sign of the zodiac, starting with Aries. For Aries, this is happening in your second house of money. So we can see new beginnings and endings related to how you make your income. Now we have that eclipse being stimulated by Uranus, which rules your 11th house of friends, groups, or hopes and dreams. So there could be something changing with how you spend money related to the groups you belong to, related to your hopes and dreams, especially with Saturn there in that 11th, making that area of life feel slower, feeling disconnected. Perhaps it's time that you are, joining a mastermind to make more money, or you are connecting with different people based on changing values related to finances. You can also have, you've got the sun in your 8th house in this eclipse, but also Mercury and Venus. So Mercury ruling your 3rd house and your 6th house. Some of you might be getting information from an intimate partner or potential intimate partners. Some of you might be getting information related to certain investments or anything dealing with other people's money, since the sun and Venus and Mercury are in your 8th house. Also with Venus here, that's your 2nd house ruler. So this is a very, very strong money transit for you, because not only are the major new beginnings happening in your money house, but then your money ruler is opposite. So it's like definite changes based on, some of you may want to be investing in things or people you haven't invested in before. That can be money or time. Some of you might be having new relationships at this time, or you're investing more into the relationship you have. Others, it might be more like financial investments or investing into your own transformation and your own personal growth. So that is what I see for Aries. Moving on now to Taurus. For Taurus, this is happening in your 1st house of your identity. So changes to your identity. You could have beginnings or endings with your appearance or other things related to your life, like where you live, who you're with, or what job you do. This is a time of major beginnings and endings for Tauruses. Now, Uranus rules your 10th house of career. So, big job changes on the horizon, or your job, your career being a reason to make a change. So this is almost like someone who gets a haircut or does their hair differently so they can get a new job. Like when you change your appearance so you can work in a certain field or industry where there are certain things you gotta look a certain way. It can also be making other life changes that work is either supporting or connected to. Some can be moving for work, although that's not going to be everyone. With Mercury ruling your 2nd house and your 5th house, and that Mercury being conjunct the sun in this eclipse, something may be illuminated related to relationships and money and love, like money and love. This could be for those who are coupled, your partner's spending, you learn something about that, or something you spent on a partner or in a partnership is different than you thought it was. Some might be beginning to invest in relationships in ways they weren't before, some Tauruses. And, with Venus also there, Venus ruling you, being your planet, that's a pretty strong indicator, as well as it is your 6th house ruler. So it's like your daily habits, possibly investing in different daily habits because of some kind of connection with another person. So this could be something as simple as you have a crush on someone who works at a gym, so now you're going to the gym more often. Or it could be something more serious, like a need to change your day-to-day life for a partner, or, you move to go live with a partner and now you have a different job, or other bigger life changes that can be happening in the next 6 months. So that's what I have for Taurus. Moving on now to Geminis. For Geminis, this is happening in your 12th house of isolation. So new beginnings and endings when it comes to the way that you perhaps self-sabotage. Like you could be seeing how you self-sabotage and stop doing that. Some of you might be going into a state where you are more into a place in life where you're more isolated. This can just be like going off by yourself to write a book. This could be spending more time in nature, vacationing, doing more of a pilgrimage where you're out, out in another country seeking. It can also be an ending of that where, if you had more free time or you had more time to yourself, perhaps now there's a new beginning in how much activity your life has. With Uranus being the ruler of your 9th house of the meaning of life, I get strong eat, pray, love vibes on this, where it's like going to another country to find meaning, finding meaning abroad, changes related to foreigners, the law, changes related to, studying something that affect how much time you spend by yourself versus with other people. Some of you may be going into a phase where you're just spending more time by yourself because you're studying something or you're taking a class. And then with Mercury ruling Mercury ruling you, it is your planet, and also ruling your 4th house of home. That being sitting with the sun in this eclipse does bring maybe information from family of origin or domestic life that has some effect on your daily habits. You could also have the same thing with Venus, but it's going to bring a little bit more, hopefully, ease from romance. So it's almost like some of you could have a flirtation that just eases up some of the challenges you might be having with your daily schedule or the changes you need to make. Some of you might be making changes to your routines. And because of those changes to your routines, you're going to want to look more beautiful, or you are looking more, dapper, depending on who you are watching this. Either way, massive shocks or changes to how much privacy you have versus how much time you're engaged in work. That area of life is going to be changing. And even with, with that 4th house ruler in the 6th, it might also have to do with how you feel in your own skin based on your daily habits and really figuring out when and how you need to take time out to recharge and what that looks like for you. So that's what I have for Gemini and Gemini rising. Moving on now to Cancer. Cancers, this is happening in your 11th house of groups, friends, and hopes and dreams. So changes to who you hang out with, what kind of associations professionally you've been connected to, so this can be joining a new mastermind, joining a new group of people affiliated with what you do, networking more, going more to parties, hanging out with people more, just chilling with your friends more or less, depending on how that eclipse is affecting you. There can be endings to friendships, although this would be more like the group of friends you hang out with, not necessarily like one long-term friend. And then with Uranus being the ruler of your 8th house, this can have to do with intimacy. So for some Cancers, it's like you might meet someone in your friend group that becomes a lover. That would be a very strong possibility here. For those already coupled, there can be changes due to something related to your partner's money that has to do with the circles that you hang out with. So like your husband or wife makes more money. Now you can go invest in something you didn't invest in before. Maybe you were holding down more of the money before. This is not a time that, because you guys have Saturn in your 8th, it is kind of harder to depend on other people financially. But there might be some kind of change, again, to other 8th house things, like maybe interest, that it's like some of this will be financial for some Cancers, like you get interest on something and that somehow affects your friendships. Others, it's just changes to your 11th house of hopes and dreams, realizing a dream you wanted is no longer just because it doesn't make sense or you can't invest in it, or you've changed as much as you've changed and you see where you are and it's like, this is where I'm at. Other things that can be happening for Cancers here is you have your 4th house ruler in the 5th house with the sun during this eclipse. So that's going to be, issues of like domestic life, especially for those who have kids, will be highlighted at this time. With Mercury there as well, that's going to be your 3rd house ruler in the 5th, also your 12th house ruler in the 5th. With the sun. So information related to how you communicate, information related to your car, information related to your subconscious mind, therapy, or your spiritual life. Those could all be revealed in some way. Something you didn't know about how you self-sabotage could be shown to you, or some secrets or something like that could be revealed as well. Just new information here that's going on. But the biggest thing I see here really is that the major change to that 11th house of hopes, dreams, or friends, and it being an ending that creates a new beginning, really sparked by that 8th house energy of transformation, of financial things, other people's money. There may be a need to step up to a new level of responsibility when it comes to your intimacy, your intimate partner, or your own level of trust within yourself, or your ability to invest money. Things like that might be happening. Paying off debt, needing to deal with that kind of stuff. Those things can also be showing up with that T-Sqaure as well. So moving on now to the next sign, which is Leo. For Leos, this is happening in your 10th house of career. This is major beginnings and endings when it comes to work, your role in the world. Uranus is a wild card, so we don't know what kind of changes, but Uranus ruling your 7th house makes it feel like you could partner up with someone new, or you could have changes to your role in life based on changes to your partner's career, if that applies, or just changes to your partner, like your partner is now available, you have more time to work, or other situations like that where something happening in your relationship causes a change or has to do with some kind of change in your work life as well. For those who are single, still changes related to work, but they're going to deal with either one-on-one client work or possibly meeting the right people to network with or connect with that can, possibly even disrupt your career in some ways. But it doesn't feel negative, but possibly you might become the shocking one when it comes to career on this transit. Other things to know for this is that Venus and Mercury rule your 2nd house, your 3rd house, and your 10th house, and your 11th house. So any of those topics can have connection to this eclipse for you in terms of information being revealed about how you communicate. You could get news about your car. You could get news about some of your friends or people you have connected with in a mastermind or something. You could actually realize your values when it comes to communication, when it comes to work or career, are a little bit different than you thought they were. You may need to step up to some challenge in your relationship, some kind of challenge that requires sacrifice in order to move forward. There might be some kind of, for the worst case scenario here for Leos would be someone's significant other gives them an ultimatum and says, your career or me. And it's like you have to pick between your career and even an ultimatum, your kids or me. Now, not everyone's going to have it be the worst case scenario. So anything Take what resonates, leave the rest. If you don't have a significant other, it could be the lack of one, the missing element there, the isolation for some Leos that just is causing a challenge when it comes to work-life balance, missing the connection, missing the human element. So that's what I have for Leos. Moving on now to Virgos. For Virgos, this is happening in your 9th house. So major new beginnings in the meaning of life, in studying, in astrology, in travel, philosophy, taking long, big courses, the law, publishing, any of those things, probably not all of them. And then with Uranus there, conjunct the eclipse, this is going to be changes, like sudden changes to any of those areas. And with Uranus ruling your 6th house of daily work, this could have to do with job changes, changes in terms of how much work you have to do. And with Saturn being there in your 6th house, most Virgos, it's going to be more work, not less, unfortunately, because Saturn transiting that 6th house it is a time where we got to work harder. So, work or even something related to health that causes you to have to step up to some kind of new level of discipline. Some Virgos will be changing their diets at this time and cutting out foods that are unhealthy to, have life be more meaningful and really get all the juice out of life. Others might be making changes to how they work, having to work more, work harder, accomplish more, with kind of the same amount of result. This isn't like a super big money transit as far as receiving money for Virgos. If anything, you might be spending money because your money ruler is in that 3rd house, of, communication, travel, cars. Some of you might be putting money into a car or a vehicle. Some of you might be putting money into other 3rd house topics such as siblings, courses. You might be investing in learning something new at this time. And you might also be investing in even something like the way that you run your errands, putting energy and time into solving that if you're wasting time on that, or other things related to your communication. You could be investing into marketing even. That's not going to be everyone, just some Virgos. Either way, the big challenge here, this karmic fated challenge in the 6th house of how you go through your day-to-day life and whether you are isolated or connected with people, can bring some tension, as well as some tension from that 9th house of what does it all mean, right? So is what I'm doing every day meaningful? And if not, what changes am I needing to make? So that's what I have for Virgos. Moving on now to Libras. For Libras, this is happening in your 8th house of transformation. Beginnings and endings related to 8th house topics such as sex, death, other people's money, the people that you your really close, intimate partners. Also, transformation and change go in this house. Things that make us totally different. Big changes having an eclipse in the 8th house. Having it be with Uranus, your 5th house ruler, does make it kind of a love transit. So some Libras might be having new love. Some Libras might be releasing love at this time, making changes to their values when it comes to who to really get intimate with, or other changes to intimacy that aren't just simply leaving someone or getting with a new partner. With that 5th house being flirting, pleasure, the 8th house is sex. So it's that could be showing up in a bunch of different ways, and Uranus rules change. So, some of you might be getting into some new things on that level. But with Saturn there in that 5th house, there's some karmic or fated lesson when it comes to either pleasure, someone you've been flirting with, or your kids, that it's time to step up to and invest. There's a question of what you're investing into. You have your planet, in that 2nd house, the money house, during this eclipse. This is a money transit because the 8th house is also other people's money. So changes to other people's money. If you're a Libra who's been depending on other people's money, this could be a change where that stops. If you have been totally independent and self-sufficient, this could be a change where it's time to share, merge with others, get a roommate, have a partner who now you're paying half the bills, or have other ways of receiving from others, or mixing money with other people. With Mercury there as well, Mercury ruling your 12th house and your 9th house, that makes me feel like information related to, from a foreigner, or information related to from your subconscious mind can be like bubbling up about money. You might see ways that you have been not paying attention to money that are now showing up, and you're like, oh, I need to pay attention to this. And it feels like Uranus might grab your attention when it comes to things like investing. Some Libras will be getting into investing. Not every Libra will do that at this time. It's a general reading, but the karmic issue here is pleasure, how you receive pleasure, your values, and how you change and transform, and how, maybe there can be some absence of the things you really need to enjoy at this time in life, and really figuring out what needs to change in how you connect with other people. Like, how can other people help you take the load off a little at this time might be something that some Libras are dealing with. So moving on now to the next sign, which is Scorpio. Scorpio, this is happening in your relationship house. Major beginnings or endings when it comes to love. This does not guarantee you're going to have a new relationship on the day of the eclipse, but for those of you in relationships, you can have changes to the way your relationship is going. For others who are single, you could have changes. I mean, some could be meeting new partners. That is one of the ways this can show up. But Saturn in that fourth house is bringing some kind of fated or karmic lesson when it comes to either your family of origin or your own emotional security that almost like has to be dealt with at this time. It's almost like you can't keep going the way you're going with your emotional security, how it is, and the changes or the values of your partner or the changes you want to be making in relationships. So it's almost like, are you the person who can attract the kind of relationship you want? This might be something Scorpios are thinking about at this time and really, really getting real with themselves about. So then, having Venus, which rules your 12th house, and it also rules your 7th house of relationships, in that first house of your own identity at this time. Some of you might be seeing how you have over-identified as the significant other to your significant other, if that makes sense, like the wife of so-and-so or the husband of so-and-so up until now, and wanting to change that. Or it could go the other way where you're like, that's my trophy wife, that's my trophy husband, and you want to go out and get that. But it affects your own identity, how you feel about yourself, how you define yourself. Also with Mercury there, conjunct the sun during this eclipse, Mercury rules your 8th house and your, oh my gosh, why can't I find it? I can't find Virgo. 11th house, your 8th house and your 11th house. So 8th house is transformation. 11th house is who you're with. So you might have big changes related to, again, like how to be more of who you are, how to become more of who you are, how to be that next version, especially with Mars in that 8th house, which you may actually be reassessing at the end of this month when Mars goes retrograde. I have a video on that, Mars and Gemini. But basically, this is going to be like, change to who you are, change to your relationships. Are you who you want to be in relationships? Are you getting new information that shows you that you're not the person you want to be? You're not with the kind of person you want to be with? What new information now is being revealed for Scorpios related to love? Big changes in love. That Uranus there in the 7th is no joke. During an eclipse, some of you might be falling in love. Some of you might be falling out of love, just depending. But it all comes down to that Saturn in the 4th being that apex of the T-Sqaure. How do you feel about yourself when you're by yourself, Scorpios? And I'll probably say that to you many times until this Saturn leaves. But in this case, it's really being activated. That Saturn-Uranus square, what needs to change? Where is the foundation of the core of your own emotions not working for you? Or the core of how you are efficient in your life, or how you are at home. What needs to change there? Home versus relationships can also be a thing, like your family of origins values versus your partner's values. They're not seeing eye to eye. Something has to give there. That's another way this could show up, or even a little bit of work-life balance problems as well. So, moving on now to the next sign, which is Sagittarius. For Sagittarius, this eclipse is happening in your 6th house of what you do day to day, your routine, your health, your work that you do. So this could be beginnings and endings to a job. This could be beginnings and endings to a certain diet, This could be changes that suddenly happen because of health stuff that comes up. And with Saturn in the third house, there might be something karmic about or fated that feels like it's happening related to either your siblings or how you communicate, how you think, how you plan perhaps. But really, what else? For you guys, it's your third house ruler, the ruler of your mind in the sixth house, squaring over to Saturn in the third. So it's all about how do you think, what needs to change, how do you get out of a rut of your own thinking that's getting you into a habit, thinking and habits. Something's not working with these things and needs to change, like unwillingness to change your mind, to change your life. If you have any stubbornness going on right now, Sag, that's going to be showing up. Now, other things that are happening here, you have Mercury and Venus, in that 12th house, Venus ruling your 11th house and also rules your 6th house. So really focusing on, are the people you're with supportive of the right habits that are going to get you where you want to be? Are you taking actions every day that are getting you toward your hopes and dreams? And this eclipse might help you see either how you're self-sabotaging or how you need to take a little more time out. Because you might, especially if you're like working all the time. And so, maybe even planning your day, how you spend your days might be in focus at this time. And then with Mercury ruling your 10th house and your 7th house, and that also being in the 12th right now, that can also be, this can be a work transit for a lot of you. It's not really a money transit as much as it is a, how do I get into the right routine and rhythm with work now? It might be the question you're asking. And with that 7th ruler in the 12th as well, making an aspect to this eclipse, some of you coupled Sagittarius might get some information about a partner you didn't know before. You might see your own hidden motivations that you didn't see before when it comes to what you're doing for work or what you're doing with a partner, whether that be a business partner or whether that be a significant other. And really, it's all going to come down to what changes do you need to make to your day-to-day life, your day-to-day schedule. For some, there might be issues with transportation where you can't get to work for a while, or something changes with the place that you normally go to work or how you normally do your daily routine when it comes to work. You have to make adjustments. Again, something karmic or fated in that 3rd house, either dealing with your mind, your thoughts, or your siblings, or even your neighborhood can be happening. So it's possible some Sagittariuses could be trying to move, but it's almost like, even if you want to move, can you? And where would you move to? And just some of the challenges that you might be having to face with that right now. So major new beginnings and endings when it comes to how you are living your daily life, your daily habits, and what needs to change, what needs to get better. And how do you think about what you're doing every day versus what you do every day? And again, what needs to be adjusted? So that's what I see happening for you guys during this eclipse. Moving on now to Capricorns. For Capricorns, this is happening in your 5th house, the fun house. So new beginnings and endings to pleasure, kids, gambling, entertainment, how you spend your time. And with your money ruler there, this makes me feel like some Capricorns are just going to be getting more, maybe tightening up the budget and not going out as much, or the other way around. Some of you might be spending more money on entertainment. You might be spending more money to go out dating more. This might be a cycle where that happens. This might be a cycle where you've mastered something related to finances, or you're stepping up to a new financial responsibility, and that allows for changes in that 5th house of fun, or changes need to be made with perhaps some it's going the other way, where maybe you realize you're spending too much going out and now you want to dial it back and get serious and really face and step up to, some financial goals you have. This is going to have to do, because it's on the 5th and 11th house axis. This is your ability to claim what you want and go after what you want with your own life might be affected here. So a release of something that maybe wasn't working in that area, and an opening up or a new beginning to connecting with what that is, connecting with what you can claim or go after with your life. And with Mercury ruling your 9th house in the 11th, this is all about what's meaningful, what's going to matter. What's going to matter long term down the road. And with Venus there, it might have to do with work as well, because you have the ruler of your career house in that 11th house opposing the eclipse. So you can see things that are revealed to you related to perhaps like how much you're investing in your business versus how much you're getting out of it, whether work is really getting you to where you want to be. Is your job getting you where you want to be? Do you need to get more skills in your second house? Do you need to invest more? Do you need to ask for a raise? Do you need to bring more to the table? Is money just moving slowly right now and you're seeing it and you're really getting down and dirty and facing it and looking at why and really, getting clear on that? Those are all some things that Capricorns can be dealing with during this eclipse. With this T-square between the second house, 11th house, and the fifth house, this is the, some kind of karmic lesson when it comes to finances or self-worth related to friends. So some Capricorns will be in situations where it's like, no, I am not sacrificing my values to hang out with you people. No, we're not going to do that. Or other situations where even with 11th, 5th house challenges, oftentimes it's like the challenge, the opposition, the tug of war in our hearts between what the world wants from us and what we want to give. And sometimes we're too far on one side of that rope. Sometimes we're too far into what everyone else wants. And we're just like, how do I help? How do I help? But there's no skill or offering to grab onto. And then there's the other side where it's like diva energy, where it's like, I'm just going to sing and I don't care if anyone likes it. And then it's like, what are you doing here? If nobody likes it, what are you doing singing? But basically, you guys might find yourself on one side of this axis or the other, and that Saturn in the second is like that apex, that point that's just saying, what needs to be sacrificed financially at this time to go after your dreams and making some kind of changes, especially in that self-expression. For some, if you already have a social media, this might be like really learning where to censor yourself and where not to, where to follow someone else's strategy and where not to. And for a lot of I feel like it's the learning how to give someone sell someone what they want, but give them what they need and still be in integrity, right? Learning how to put the beautiful thing you have to offer the world into the package that people want and learn how to really do that. So some of you who already know that, you can disregard that. For those of you who don't do social media, just take that and apply it to your life in whatever way it fits. And we're going to move on now to the next sign, which is Aquarius. For Aquarius, this is happening in your fourth house of home and emotional security, major new beginnings and endings to your home. It could be changes to your family of origin. It could also be simply something like moving or getting a roommate or other changes like that. It can also be, again, changes to your own emotional foundation and emotional security. So you'll have to take that and see what resonates. Also, because you are an Aquarius, Uranus conjunct the eclipse means it's your ruling planet. So your own life direction is also affected by this. So it's almost like you could be finding yourself wanting to change your job, where you live, what kind of partner you have. Especially job is related here, but even your role in a family, those things you might be feeling like either you want to change them or they are changing. And it kind of creates some kind of almost like an identity crisis here, because when we have the first house and the fourth house, it's like something that was foundational in our lives is changing now. And with Saturn in that first house, there's some kind of karmic lesson happening here on striking out on your own, going your own way, heading your own direction in life. And with the eclipse being opposite that 10th house, that means that Scorpio eclipse was in your 10th house 2 weeks ago. And it's like major new beginnings to how you are at home versus how you are at work, your role in the world versus, what you do all the times that you're not working to feel good about yourself when you're by yourself. And even with that sun up there in the 10th house, we've got Venus and Mercury there. Venus being the ruler of your 9th house and your 4th house. So it's like, again, what feels good? What's going to feel good? What's going to make life feel meaningful at this time? And that sun is going to illuminate that need for meaning in career, especially if you haven't been getting it. And then Mercury ruling your 5th house and your 8th house, that's going to be illuminating your need for relationships and intimacy and closeness, especially if Saturn transiting your first house has have you been more of a loner than you even normally are. Aquarius, I know you guys. But if you've been more detached or disconnected, this is going to illuminate your need for intimacy, your need for connection, your need for romance, your need for dating or flirting. Even if you're in a relationship, it'll illuminate your need for connection within the relationship, or how detached or isolated, if you have, become from your partner. And remember, take what resonates and leave the rest. For those of you who are happy in love, that's fine. Don't listen to this and change something and mess something up. But changes to your role in the world versus your role at home, or vice versa. And, again, for some of you, it's simply just moving. And that's that karmic lesson of that first house of going after what you want in life and doing it, and going to the place you want to be, or needing to move, for other reasons as well. So that is what I have for Aquarius. And now on to the next sign, which is Pisces. For Pisces, this is happening in your 3rd house of communication, the mind, major beginnings or endings related to those things, studying, siblings, or even like the car you drive or your transportation. And because it's affecting that 9th house axis, for some Pisces, this might be where you live, maybe not. And then with Uranus being the ruler of your 12th house, coming into that 3rd house in conjunct the eclipse, this is bringing topics of isolation, time out, meditation, reflection into your 3rd house of the mind. So it might just be a time where you're like, I need to reflect on what I'm thinking more, or think a little bit more slowly or more deliberately, or practice mindfulness. But still big changes to your communication or your transportation. And for some, it's like this could have to do with how much time out you have. Like, for example, you commute more to work now. You don't have as much time to meditate or something like that. Something related to how much you're driving versus how much you're able to have peace and quiet. With Saturn in the 12th house, there is a karmic lesson here of self-sabotage, of, again, quietude, isolation. Something here needs to be learned. Something here needs to be adjusted, especially with that 3rd house of the mind. So how much do you quiet your mind? How much do you not quiet your mind? That kind of stuff. And then with, Venus being illuminated by this eclipse, Venus ruling your 8th house and your 3rd house. That's going to be, the 8th house will be, trust. Trust issues could be coming up with what people say. And then with Mercury there also being illuminated by the eclipse, Mercury ruling your 4th house and your 7th house. So that's going to be illuminating possibly some things from childhood, possibly some aspects of your own emotional foundation, and with the 7th house relationship. So for some of you, it's illuminating someone you want to date and get intimate with. Yay, right? Some of you, it's that simple. For others, it might illuminate changes you want to make in your home with your partner. For some, it might illuminate things related to your family of origin and your own self-sabotage, and how that shows up in relationships. So that can also be happening as well. But the major players here are that 3rd and 9th house axis too. Another thing about this is how you communicate what you know. So that could be under focus at this time. And that can be in marketing. It could be in relationships. It could be in general. It could be in your career, in your role in the world. How are you communicating what you know and what is not working? Maybe some of you are wanting to teach, or you're wanting to speak more and you're not doing it. That's going to really, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel that if that's a thing where you're wanting to put yourself out there and share your knowledge and you're not, that's going to be showing up. For some Pisces, that will be what happens, is a change where a major beginning or ending related to how you communicate what you know, how much time you spend learning versus speaking. Usually the way this works is we learn and we learn and we learn, but we don't share it because we're afraid. We don't want to sound stupid. We want to learn more. So for Pisces dealing with that kind of thing, which I see so much with this 3rd and 9th house axis, especially with that 12th house of spiritual wisdom and fears, when Saturn's transiting that 12th house, it's also subconscious fears. We don't know what we're even afraid of. What are you afraid of saying? What are you afraid of speaking up about? That might also be showing up at this time for Pisces and Pisces rising. So let me know in a comment below if that resonated. If you guys want more, check out the video I did on the solar eclipse in Scorpio. That was only 2 weeks before this one. They are connected. So you want to watch both videos to get the full rundown. Also, readings are on sale through the 21st. Click the link in the description to get yours. Also, for those of you who tend to get scared of eclipses, they do sometimes bring tough changes. But my experience has been that the fear of change is worse than the actual change. And the last thing I want is for people to watch my videos and be like, oh no, I'm afraid I'm going to lose something. We always have major new beginnings and endings in our life all the time. And if you're getting that kind of scared feeling, go back, look at what was happening in your life back in October of 2004. So if you're feeling scared, do that. Go back, look at what was happening, consider the house the eclipses both land in, and think, okay, what was changing in this house and that house back at that time? And you'll get an idea of what kind of things might be in store for you. And keep in mind, even if it was a train wreck back then, it's always possible you could have another aspect by progression or something that you don't know how to read that is coming up. You know, you've made it through every eclipse season up until now. You made it through every transit up until now. You'll make it through the next ones too. So keep that in mind as you go forward, and I will see you all in the next video.